In the 1950s, Rosa Park was well known as mother of the civil rights movement. During Rosa Parks' childhood, she experienced racial discrimination and became an activist for racial equality. Rosa Parks made it her responsibility to defend, protect, and stand up for African American civil rights on the bus, and then took part of the bus boycott. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks was coming back from a long day work at the seamstress department store in Montgomery, Alabama. As Parks was getting on the bus at Cleveland Avenue, she dropped her dime in the box and then hesitated. By the Jim Crow laws and custom, the front rows of seats were reserved for white people only at that time. African American had to sit in the back seat as the law stated. Also, African American had to enter from the back doors. As Rosa Parks entered the bus was half empty, and Miss Parks sat into the first seat behind the colored section sign. She noticed that the bus was getting fuller from one stop to another. After a while, the bus seats were all taken and the bus driver looked into his mirror, and he noticed that two white people were standing in the aisle. Miss Parks just sat still and ignored what was happening because she was tired of giving up. Bystanders may have thought she didn't get up because of being tired from work, but she was tired in her soul of being treated like a non-human being. This bus incident showed how courageous Parks was, and this gave African Americans the power to stand up for themselves. In addition, days before the bus incident, Rosa Parks joined the NAACP. This was a group that stood up for African American people. Also, NAACP helped colored people to fight for their own civil rights and for their freedom. The NAACP was furious that Parks was arrested on the bus, but 3 months earlier, another African American, Claudia Colvin, a 15-year-old girl, was arrested for refusing to change seats on a city bus, and nothing was done about it. After Parks was arrested, the NAACP decided to step up. The stage was already set for a bus boycott. A white authority, Clifford Dirk, helped the NAACP group leader Ed Nixon to bail Miss Parks out of jail. Nixon had persuaded Miss Parks to allow her case to be used to challenge the city bus segregation policy.
That was the day that we started a bus protest which literally electrified the nation. And that was the day when we decided that we were not going to take segregated buses.
This helped Ed Nixon to begin a protest with the Women's Political Council, a group of black women who lobbied the city and state on black issues. The bus boycott involved African Americans refusing to ride on buses. A few days after the boycott had begun, city buses officials asked the city commissioner for permission to close all roads to many of the primary black communities, arguing that the boycott had made service to those areas no longer financially attractive. As the boycott continued, white people started to offer rides to black people, and churches raised money to buy cars. Even though this made life harder for African Americans, they refused to give up on what they always dreamed of. This shows how strongly African Americans wanted equal rights. Many people did many things, but it was the people who walked and made the boycott successful. Parks said, "Nothing would have changed on the buses if they hadn't decided to stop riding them. It just goes to show the power of economics." Not only did African Americans fight for their own rights, but also for equality. The word equality is important to a lot of colored people because everyone wanted to be respected. Unfortunately, African Americans were unable to be respected and enjoying things equally because of Jim Crow laws. The Jim Crow laws separated colored people to non-colored people. Many white people did not realize that the Jim Crow law even existed, but these laws never gave African Americans the chance or courage to look at a white person in the eye because they're scared they might get killed or tortured. As to Rosa Park and other African Americans, they didn't want to be looked at as slaves or animals. They wanted white people to notice that African Americans are human beings, and they're the same creature as white people. The Jim Crow laws made African Americans and white people feel like they're enemies going into war. This destroyed people's everyday life, and this also made a lot of people to be scared being by themselves with other skin color people. The Civil Rights Movement, with the help from Rosa Parks, fought to end the Jim Crow laws. During the end of all civil rights movement, many African Americans had gained the power to speak up and stand up for their own race. Even though most African Americans was not happy about what white people had done to them in the past, African Americans still respect all types of laws that were made in the 1950s. In conclusion, no matter how much white or black people ignored what was going around them, Rosa Parks, a potential woman who sat down to stand up for what she believed in. Parks has been an inspiration and influence for African American race and culture. Miss Parks was also a person who would do anything and felt responsible to help protect her race, like being arrested. Parks shouldn't have been arrested that day because she had every right to defend herself and to fight for her own equality. You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it is right, stated Rosa Parks.